Got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to episode 14 of Coordinated Fire. My name's Sean, and I am joined by my co-host, Titus Kozlov. Kyle is a little bit under the weather today, unfortunately, so it'll just be us two today. And if you believe in the old tale, Titus, everything happens in threes, so it's going to be your turn next.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
All right, we usually start off with a one-liner from Kyle, but I'm going to start off, as I do when I do the intro, with a joke. Titus, what is a stormtrooper's favorite store?
I feel like I should know
Stormtrooper's
this one.
favorite store.
What is it?
The one next to the Target.
Oh boy, that's
The one next to the Target.
okay.
Titus
That's a
and
good
I
one.
have we have a packed podcast here for everybody today. We're going to start off with some games played, and then we're going to be moving into the Evergreen Open that happened this weekend. We want to talk about that a little bit and give our thoughts and kind of the way things moved across that event and what ended up doing good, what ended up doing not so good. I think there's a lot of great takeaways here. Then we'll discuss upcoming events, Nova, and of course our GT here in Burlington, Ontario at Torchlight Games and Hobbies Force Convergence. And then our primary of the week is Grand Inquisitor, who is a primary that's a little under the radar, but is getting taken more and more, as we'll see here at the Evergreen Open recap. Yeah, so let's start off with some games played here. Titus, you got a bunch of games in this week if you want to start off.
I did. So I had. I'll start with the league match I had against you, Sean. We can kind of tag team that.
Yep.
So I was playing, appropriately enough, I was playing Grand Inquisitor, the third sister and fourth sister, paired across from Thrawn, Bosk, and fifth brother. The reason for Bosk instead of Stormtrooper Sergeant was just he's another thing that can get kills without attacking, which is something I'm starting to just slot into my lists a lot more now that we're seeing a lot of Kanan again. It's also good against a few other things. I know Ahsoka also requires the wound to be an attack, stuff like that. So, it went pretty good. We had a long three struggle game. I think it was three struggles, wasn't it?
Yeah. We went 3 struggles. I ended up taking this 2-1. This was a great game, and I think like you guys talked about in the last episode, kind of like a palate cleanser. So it wasn't a different game, but for me, my approach was to take a list that I had not played in a while with models that I hadn't touched for a while. So for me, this was Lord Maul, Obi-2, Night Sisters with Mother Talzin, Savage Opress, and the Supermandos. Again, I used to play a lot of Maul and Talzin back in the early days. Mother Talzin continues to be one of my favorite primaries in the game, who I think maybe just with a few touches could see a rise again within the game. For me, and again, this was just a fun game. You know, our Thursday league that you put together, Titus, really gives us a great excuse to go out and just play games, play what we want, test stuff, bring something off the shelf, dust it off. And then that's kind of the way that I took this game. Takeaways from me, Mother Talzin is still great. She slaps, man. I had one attack there. She went full tree. Holy cow, she's powerful. Maul made his way right across the board to take an objective, doing what he does. Obi-2, I think we had kind of agreed was not the right fit here for this list. I think didn't really have much of an impact and didn't really do what I was looking to do. Yes, thank you for that. Savage Opress was great, holding down points with the protection and steadfast. I think maybe just like one shove, just give the guy one shove on his tree, and I think that would be super interesting for him. But yeah, good, just fun, casual game that got me playing Dathomirians again, which was really great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And to speak to the league thing, it's amazing the difference it makes in terms of people being there reliably to just have the game scheduled ahead of time. All our league players, they turn out very reliably as soon as we have the league going. And it's just that incentive. Like, I know I have an opponent. I know I have to get this done in the next 2 weeks. It just, I don't know, having something there to the structure. It just, before we had the league, people would still show up, but it was usually 1 or 2 games at best. Now we're regularly having 3 games going a night, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and again, thank you for putting that together. We're on the third one, going into the fourth, I believe. Gotcha. All right. And when are we going to start our next one?
I'm not sure.
Not
Whenever
sure.
Kyle and Brandon get their last game in,
Oh,
and I'll probably
we
give
still
it a
have one
couple
more.
weeks break.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's really helped our core group, and I know there's some other people here that are getting into the game. We have a couple of people that I've been talking to, and I'm just telling them, hey, get in the league, just bring whatever you want, and it's a fun time. All right, you got a game in against our good friend and listener Rudy as well this week.
Yeah, I had a game. We just kind of threw it together. I knew I had a Friday game, so my league game on Friday was fairly late by my standards. So I was like, you know what? I've got the evening. I gotta figure out something to keep me awake. And I'd been talking with Rudy quite a bit. He's trying to prep for Nova, so I said, you know what? Let's get a pickup game. Get some units on the table. Yeah, it was pretty quick. I played the Riff box, so Riff, Nosor, and Aquas, and across from Dooku, Ango, and B1s.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy had Krennic, Vader 3, Death Troopers with Grand Inquisitor, Obi-2, and Fifth Brother. And
Nice.
it was it was a decent game. Riff just continues to kind of struggle into the more modern stuff. And yeah, this is definitely not my preferred version of the list. I did lock this one in for the TTS League, so I was trying to get another game in with it just to kind of get my feet under me. And yeah, I feel like the B1s without Kalani just don't measure up.
So
as much as
what are you seeing as the best pairing for Rift in your opinion? You've played him a bunch now.
Yeah, so I've only played him in the Separatist context, but within the Separatist context, I really like him with his box. That part is pretty locked in.
Gotcha.
I like Kalani in the B1s. I feel like if you're not taking Kalani, you probably want the B2s, which I'm not a big fan of in the current meta. So they get hurt by protection a lot.
Bit of a double-edged sword situation.
So I feel like Dooku just doesn't fit because he can't go either direction. Not unless you do some, I don't know, something tricky, but like putting Nosar with Dooku and then take the B2s with Riff or something like that. I don't know. It just feels awkward for the list building. I feel like Grievous, Asajj, even branching out into something like CAD fit a lot better. I know Ryan was out on Thursday this past week and he was running Riff with CAD, which I have been hesitant to do because they are looking for the same trigger for their reactives. So it's one of those things you don't want to double up with it. He said it was fine. It went fine for him in terms of having that double trigger. It didn't seem to bother him much. So I might have to give it a shot.
Cool. And it looks like Rudy on the other half here was kind of, I guess, what I'll call the point control list for Empire lately, which is the other half of the very popular premier list that came out of Gen Con. Krennic, V3, Death Troopers, Grand Inquisitor, Obi-2, and Fifth. Did Obi-2 have an impact in this game at all?
Yes and no. Okay. I very much played around him, which is still an impact. And that's something that I feel like people gloss over a lot. Even though you're playing around a unit, you are still changing your play pattern to adapt to that unit. You're not necessarily doing the optimal thing. The mind trick didn't have a huge effect on me because I was usually attacking around him with things that don't have great expertise and are relying on weight of dice. I also wounded him fairly early. But the fact of the matter is I still had to play accordingly. I had to change my play pattern to deal with him. And when you're dealing with such a tough list around him, that's rough, especially for Separatists.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Because again, you've got Vader, Death Troopers, Fifth Brother, all have protection. Krennic has crit mitigation, which was real rough for me, actually.
He is surprisingly tanky on high aspirations side with that crit mitigation on 1. He can survive some attacks.
Yeah, like I haven't found him that tough in the other games I've played against Krennic, but with this particular list, it just struggled to get anything through.
Yeah. And did Rudy keep him in high aspirations most of the game, if you can remember?
He started arrogance, and then switch to high aspirations fairly
Okay.
quickly.
Yeah, that seems to be the play pattern with Krennic, is that you start in arrogance if you can get some momentum denial, but then past that, the rest of the game he's in high aspirations.
Yeah. So moving on to my final game, was my league match that I had, like the TTS league. This one was against Austin, who told me he's also a regular listener. So
nice.
Big shout out to
Austin.
him. For this one, I was playing my Mace Ahsoka list. So that's Ahsoka Jedi No More with Nadar Veb, Phil's clones, then Mace with Obi-2 and 501st. And we were playing against, I was playing against the Iden box with Grand Inquisitor, Third Sister, and Fourth Sister. So going into something fairly killy, but it was a good game. I had a good time with it. We only ended up going to 2 struggles, but it was definitely a tighter game than... That's one of those things that I've noticed is 2-0 games always look real one-sided on the score sheet, but he could have taken either of those struggles, and it just, some dice rolls didn't necessarily go his way, and my list is very tanky in terms of something that anyone but Iden can go after, really, because the rest of his list, ISF don't like protection. They run into trouble with that now because they don't have the dice fixing the way they did before.
Yeah.
And then 3rd, 4th, Grand Inquisitor, none of them are super heavy damage. So going into Mace especially, they all kind of have a little bit of trouble. They can still climb over it, but it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. I would think I would have loved to seen Fifth Brother in this list for Force Repulse to try and deal with your Mace, because the rest of the list doesn't really. I mean, what mission did you play on this?
We ended up playing Sabotage. So he was bringing Never Tell Me the Odds, but I won the roll off, and we were talking about it afterwards, and I think Never Tell Me the Odds would have made a huge difference.
Yes, he's got the ISF for the infiltration. 3rd and 4th are a nice package for great movement too. But again, on Sabotage or shifting, this is going to cause a lot of problems, I think, for this list, not having Fifth Brother and like no diceless displacement, right? To do anything. So Mace can just plunk and sit wherever he wants, right?
Yeah, and by the time I was able to move Obi-2 up, then you're dealing with another big bubble on Sabotage that pretty much covers the entire field. So the Inferno squad can kind of dance around it, but they're having to skirt the outside of the board anytime they want to go somewhere, which again, you can play around it, but it limits your options.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Awesome. And then for me, I didn't get to talk about the Garden City Open because I was away, obviously, last episode. A great event up in St. Catharines, Ontario. I did play the, as mentioned, premier list for Empire that's been quite popularized post Gen Con. So it's Inferno Squad as is, GI, Grand Inquisitor, Obi-2, Fifth Brother, Krennic, Vader 3, Death Troopers with Moff Gideon and Reva and Fourth Sister. Quick takeaways. Obi-2 was amazing for me personally. Again, maybe opponents not playing around him or him just being in good positions. My last round against Separatists was phenomenal. He single-handedly held back Asajj, Grievous, and with the disarms, which was amazing. I really love Iden and Grand Inquisitor as a damage and aggro option right now. ISF, like you had mentioned, they're not as effective as they were, and I do think they still need Gideon to give them that extra hit on the fail to at least help them out. Overall, though, I think this version of the Empire Premier is the best one if you are going to play Empire right now. It's very toolboxy. The point control list with Krennic and GI together is great. Vader 3 can be a blender and really, really cause some issues, again, with some diceless displacement. Krennic stealing points. I love the Krennic and GI pairing together because, as we'll kind of talk about a little bit later in the episode, I'm going to drop my thoughts on Thrawn and where his place is in the meta right now, which I don't think is all that great, unfortunately. Moving on, let's talk about the Evergreen Open. So the Evergreen Open was this weekend at Dragonflight GameCon in Washington, USA. This was run by Izzy Gambino and Omnis. were the two TOs for this event. Ended up at 19 players with a number of top guys that we've seen before. Kenny and Scott from Zion's Finest, Chris Sampson, Nick Rader, Chris SV, Josh Saracruel, and Darth Donovan Fett. Good friend and listener Dylan also came down, and fellow content creator Qui-Gon. So this one was stacked with a lot of names and a lot of people within the community. They went 4 rounds on the Friday and then a top 8 cut on the Sunday, which is kind of nice. It gave players a break on the Saturday and come back refreshed for Sunday. So we did see Kenny and Scott from Zion's Finest both go 4-0 in the Swiss, playing very similar lists, but with a few touches, both on the Kamakin list that they both feel is very good with some differences there. And then Scott taking CAD with Cassian, and then Kenny going with a different flavor with Cassian and Kanan. We also saw a very creative list here from Chris Sampson. I know, Titus, you want to touch on this one with Riff Tamsin and Delta Squad, 1 Jin in the top 8, and then we do have Josh Saracruel playing a full Empire. Sorry, not full Empire. He has Mando, but with Empire. So what were your takeaways from this event and anything that you saw that really kind of stuck out to you, Titus?
So to start out, Cassian is just everywhere. He is everywhere, and it's like it's a really good list, and he has several different variations that are really good lists.
Yes.
He enables so much and is real hard to deal with.
Yeah, so nine players with 32 games played across the event, which dwarfed the second, which was Grand Inquisitor at 7 with 16 games. So Cassian was played double the amount that the second most played primary was.
Yeah. And like you said, I also wanted to touch on Christopher Sampson's list. So to start, he had Fulcrum and Kanan with full Spectres. That one's, it's a variation on Spectres that is pretty good. I think is probably one of the best homes for Fulcrum right now. But what was really interesting to me was he played a lot of Riff Tamsin with the Mandalorian, which that list is the Riff box, just as is, with Mando, Dengar, and then the Weequay Pirates. So it's leaning more into that scoundrel side that I haven't gotten to really touch on yet, and it looks like a great place to start with it because we've all seen how Mando and Dengar are a great pairing together. Mando also deals with some of this aggression that we're running into a lot lately, and in a very effective way because he's tough and very mobile, throwing out hunkers and heals when something gets wounded helps deal with that problem a little bit. Same thing for the Weequay Pirates. They just 9 hit points, and Steadfast makes them good at dealing with the aggression, as well as they can stand up to some of those revenge triggers a lot better than most. Steadfast is huge when you're trying to wound into a revenge list, because often, especially if you're going into like say a Han list or a Princess Leia list, they're aiming to shove with their revenge, and Steadfast helps mitigate that. So it looks like a great way to play Riff, and he had some success with it. Like he played it 4 times across 5 games. And it went 50-50, but the people he lost to were the 2 people who won the event. So, like, I don't think there's any shame in that.
Yeah, you can't complain when you're playing against the 2 consensus top dogs. Yeah, this is really interesting, too. I mean, Dengar, I think, is also a very strong choice. I mean, and Kyle's been high on Dengar since he first came out. So, yeah, this is really interesting. And something that I've heard other people talk about is the scoundrel side of Riff Tamsin. So yeah, it's great to see somebody pick it up and actually do it. Yeah. I think some interesting, like you had mentioned, Cassian just coming in a variety of different flavors right now, mainly Cad Bane, Kanan, and we're seeing Jin as well too. Jin is actually getting a lot more popular. Delta Squad did not have a great showing here, but I think we discussed pre-cast that they've only been out for a week. I don't know if this event is really indicative of what Delta Squad is going to be.
They weren't out for a week. They came out that Thursday, didn't they?
Oh, that Thursday? Okay. So we're talking about short time. Yeah.
Like it's literally like day of.
Yeah, I think Nova is going to be a much better indicator for Delta Squad, because you're going to have people that have more time, more practice with it, and people are dedicated to, hey, I am going to play Delta Squad for this event. So yes, I think Nova will be a better indicator. Yeah, the takeaway from me, we did see, again, Empire creeping in here a little bit. We had Darth Donovan Fett with GI and Moff list in 4th place as one half with Jin and Hondo, which is really interesting. And then we do see Josh Sarah Cruel playing, I think, near the list that he played at Adepticon. It looks very similar, but for me, a tough outing for Thrawn. And as somebody who's been on the Thrawn train, particularly the last meta, I don't think this is Thrawn's meta. And unfortunately, we do see one, two, yeah, I mean, we see 3 losses, Thrawn and Mando specifically into Cassian lists. And I think even the games that we've played where you were playing Cassian with your Moff list as well too, the addition of Baze and Chirrut with the Rebel Commandos, making these Cassian and Rebel lists much more aggro, is really, really bad for Thrawn, because the main thing with Thrawn last meta was that you were looking for a movement advantage, which actually Cassian and Kanan together kind of shores up even a little bit there too. So you're losing a bit of that advantage, I think. And then having these Rebel lists with Cassian be so aggro now, it really, really hurts Thrawn, because again, last meta, the whole idea was that Rebels weren't really a hard aggro damage dealing list. And you were able to have that movement advantage and the shoves and the control and all that kind of stuff. And it's really changed. It's really changed. And again, this is coming from somebody, like I've said on this cast, I love Thrawn. And I had people last meta asking me, like, why do you like Thrawn? Why is he so good? And I love playing Thrawn. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's his meta right now. And it really sucks for me to say that.
Well, all he needs is a couple things to come out, and that might flip around.
Yeah. Hopefully he plays with Morgan Elspeth really well. That's the box that I'm hoping can pair well and give Empire a little bit more of what they need.
So just to touch on a little bit of stats, since Kyle's gone.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that Cassian was taken in twice as many games as the next highest character. He had 32 games played compared to 16 on the Grand
16
Inquisitor.
Of Grand Inquisitors, and even
it's insane having that amount of play rate. It blows me away. And he was obviously also taken by the most players, almost 50% of the field.
Yes, like my hand is, and we've talked, the 3 of us, like I think our hands are like over the red alert button. Like it's not quite slamming down yet, but like our hands are very distinctly hovering over Cassian is a problem red alert button.
Yeah, I've honestly been there since before the rebalance. I was very worried that about as soon as Iden kind of got nerfed, which wasn't as bad as we thought it could have been, but it was, to me, Cassian was the next in line, and it took a couple releases, so it wasn't as immediate, but I think he's getting there.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's really been exasperated with, I mean, and obviously the boxes are supposed to play together. Like we know they made these 2 rogue boxes to play together.
Oh, absolutely.
But like Baze and Chirrut has just exasperated the problem so much because they're so strong. They're to me the second best support unit in the game, and it's just taking Cassian over the top, I think.
Well, it's because they were designed to shore up his one weakness. We've been saying since he came out, the thing that makes him less of a threat, less of a problem, is the fact that he has force problems.
Yes.
Well, bringing a support that has force regeneration that is guaranteed and actually gets better as you start taking wounds, it shores up the one problem he has, which is rough.
Do you think Moff Gideon and his reserve tax affects these rebel lists the same way?
It would be bad for them. I don't think there's anything in the list that particularly needs to be reserved.
That's what I'm trying to get at, right? Is again when we go back to last meta, Thrawn Moff, right? And again, Cassian as he was with 5 force, Moff Gideon was really, the reserve tack was a problem. And now again, we see Baze and Chirrut helping with that as well too. Amazing. All right. So we also have Nova coming up on August 30th. This event here, I think, is up to 42 or 43 players. and to me is going to be the most competitive event of the year. We see a lot of top players. Delta Squad will be out for a lot longer. What are your kind of thoughts going into Nova, and maybe some predictions here for this one, Titus?
So to start off, I think it's too early for Delta to really have a accurate showing. I think we'll see it. I think that there will be a split between the people who are playing it early and just don't have the experience with it and won't have a great turnout with it. And then there will be one or two players that do really well with it because they've been able to get in those reps in a short period of time, and we'll be playing into people that don't know how to deal with Delta. I think overall, you might see them get to the top cut. You might even see them in high parts of the top cut. I don't think they are going to be the top list. I think that is solidly the Cassian Rebel lists. I have a hard time seeing Delta being able to face into that. I don't think it's their strong suit dealing with that kind of list. So I don't think they're going to be able to take that top slot. That said, I haven't had much experience with them on the table, so maybe I'll be surprised. But I think you might see a little bit of Jin, you might see a little bit of Rift, just because they're the new stuff. You'll see some Empire because it seems to be one of the hot lists right now, and it's got some play into the Rebels, which is really what you need right now to place well. You'll always end up with some Republic out there too. And I think Separatists will be MIA as usual.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. So I agree with a lot of that, Titus. Yeah, I think you have three almost very specific flavors, like we said, of Cassian that we'll probably see at the event in some form, whether people lean into more revenge heavy with Kanan or more aggro with Cad Bane. I would love to see Jin played a lot more. Jin is actually a primary that I'm excited to get on the table myself. And I think the temperature on her has changed a little bit. At first it was, oh, she's a greedy primary. She may not be as good, but I've seen a lot of chatter out there on Discord and in the Zion Slack, there's a couple other places that people are realizing that her identity is really good, and that she can have some impact on the board, specifically when she's paired with Cassian. To touch on that, Delta's a bit of a coin flip for me about where they're going to land. Empire, I think Grand Inquisitor is the pillar for Empire right now. I think the Grand Inquisitor anchor list is where it's at. I've already talked about how I don't really think Thrawn is really there. And Empire, I think, has become a really high ceiling faction or lists to play, and you really need to know your matchups if you're going to play Empire right now. And really, I mean, it's just going to be an uphill battle for anybody, unfortunately, not playing Rebels right now, because it just seems like Cassian's really rising to the top. So I think we're back at this place where you're either playing Cassian or you're teching against him.
Yep, I'd say that's accurate. And the problem we're running into right now is I don't think Cassian is quite as strong as Inferno was, but the problem is we don't have any strong counters into him either, because he is so broadly powerful. He can play with a variety of different things. Now, with how the supports are breaking down, it's become a lot more homogenous now that Baze and Trude is out, because there's just, these are the two best supports. Doesn't matter what your list's plan is. You go with Rebel Commandos and Baze and Trude, or if you're Inspectors, a lot of people are doing Baze and Trude with Chopper, but it's not a huge difference. So the Cassian lists are starting to look more samey, but there's still a lot of variety with the rest of the lists. And you can't just go, oh, I'm playing Revenge into this because it's just the aggro thing. Well, it's not with him. He can do a lot of different things very well. So I don't think he's as strong as that was, but it's hard to plan against him too, because they're so different.
It's not concentrated power like it was with Inferno Squad, right? It's a little bit more spread out, and it makes it very hard, like you said, to have much counterplay, like you said. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for Nova. I think it's one that we're going to be watching quite closely, and it is probably going to likely lead into what I guess, quote unquote, the meta will be moving forward, likely for the rest of the year. And I would be amiss to not mention our grand tournament happening here in Ontario, Force Convergence, October 4th and 5th in Burlington, Ontario at Torchlight Games and Hobbies. For those of you that are listening, if you are not going to LVO on October 4th, we would love for new players and anybody that wants to cross the border, or if you're listening from other parts of Ontario, if you haven't been to one of our events or our grand tournament yet, this is like the third one we put on. We would love for you to come out. Torchlight Games and Hobbies, if you find them on Google, or you can message me or Titus or Kyle. We can give you ticket information. It's going to be a great time. We are up to 20 players so far, looking to max this out at 32, and we would love anybody out there listening to make the drive out and come join us for that.
Yep. And I would also say anybody who can make the trip, Torchlight is a great venue.
Yes.
I was blown away my first time there. It's an amazing venue. Like, they have a great store. It's beautiful. It's got lots of stock of pretty much any game I could think of. And the play space is huge. It's like they have, I mean, it's like a converted warehouse, the play space. So like you've got so much space.
Yeah.
And then like it was a great experience going there last time. I'm looking forward to it again.
Yeah, I'm super happy that Kyle and myself were able to lock it down for these dates. Like you said, Titus, it is one of, if not the premium gaming space that we have in Ontario. Like you mentioned, they moved into a commercial space, renovated the whole thing. Lunch is also included. If I mentioned that, lunch is included with the $40 ticket, and we have a lot of great prizing outside of the usual AMG stuff. But half a dozen different squad boxes. I have tons of foil order cards. Putting a lot of work into this one to make sure it's big. And again, if you haven't been to one of our GTs before, we do have tons of competitive players coming out. And you know, it would be a great way to get a GT under your belt. Again, if you've never been to one, or if you're looking to get to one because you're not going to LVO.
Yeah. And I know that there's a lot of people who are looking to go who just haven't signed up yet. We're still a month and a half out, so I'm expecting us to hit the 32. Maybe we won't, but
Oh no,
I'm
don't
optimistic.
do that. Don't say it, then take it back. Can't do that. Gas, foot on the gas. We're going to hit 32. I'm so excited. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So moving on to our primary of the week is something that we've talked about a lot here today already, Grand Inquisitor. Titus, you want to kick us off and tell us about Grand Inquisitor?
Yeah, so Grand Inquisitor is one we've talked about a lot today, but we've also talked a lot about it previously. Pretty much since the rebalance happened, it's someone we've been recommending as the best way to get into Empire, partially because the box itself is just very flexible, has a lot of options what to play with. It's easy to splash, but also to play as a full box. And the eras let you make that transition from the core box to Empire in a more kind of piecemeal fashion. So like you're able to start dipping your toes and then move into full Empire fairly quickly, but also flexibly. So it's not a huge, one-time hit to your wallet the way it would be to buying into, say, Rebels. With Grand Inquisitor, you're able to very much just, I want to try out Empire stuff, and I'm going to pair it across from my core box squad over here, and then eventually buy another Empire list, and suddenly you have a full team. So it's one of those boxes that we always recommend in terms of an early purchase, because it's just really easy to put with anything.
Yeah, it's versatile. Yeah, it's very very versatile box.
Yep. Now, as for Grand Inquisitor himself, we're looking at a pretty standard primary in terms of the points. He's an 8 squad point primary with 3 force points. So, very basic, makes list building really easy. He's got 9 hit points and 3 wounds. So again, very basic. Not as tough as some of the other ones out there, but he makes up for it with a great defense. So we'll go through his abilities first. So he's got a tactic. You know who we are. At the start of his activation, he can move an Inquisitorius, secondary, or support. So they dash, he dashes. Pretty simple. Does mean you have a bit of a list building requirement. You want to have at least another Inquisitorius in the team. If you don't, he can still move himself, but it's nice to get that other dash because you're leaving a lot of value at home if you don't have it. That said, with Vader 3 being out there, we have a very nice way to splash an Inquisitorius into a secondary slot and not have to worry about the supports if you want to have the double bodies with both your supports, which I know used to be one of the trade-offs people didn't want to make.
Yeah, and Vader 3 loves an extra dash. Being melee only, he really, really loves Grand Inquisitor's dash.
Yeah, so like I think he's gotten a lot of flexibility with Vader 3 coming out, and that's helped him a lot. So next up is Secrets Uncovered. It's the ability that is probably used the least on him. It costs 2 force. Choose an active objective that is controlled by an opposing player. Remove the opposing player's control token from the chosen objective. This can be situationally very useful, but usually it's only when either they have left a point completely open, they've abandoned their back point just expecting it to stay on, or you've tied it up but can't take the point. Situationally useful, but not great. The 2 force cost just means you're rarely going to use this ability.
Yeah, it's super expensive, and I think I've only done it the one time you mentioned, Titus, in that situation where somebody had left abandoned an objective, and I went 2 force, boop, that one's off, and then it makes it harder for them to score more on their turn because they can't get back to that objective. That's the only time I've personally ever used it too.
Yep. And like when you do use it, you know why you're using it. It's never going to be, I think I'll do this.
Yeah, I got a couple extra forces lying around.
Like you might have that happen if you end up going Grand Inquisitor last and you've just wounded a bunch of things, but it's pretty rare. So he has a reactive called The Temple Records Are Quite Complete. When a character in this unit is targeted with a melee attack, this unit may change its active stance, and if it's a force user that's attacking him, add 2 dice to the defense roll. This is an ability that comes and goes in terms of its usability. It used to be that Grand Inquisitor would be pretty useless against non-force users, but he's gotten a little bit better in terms of there's a lot more force users around right now. There's a lot of Republic Jedi running around. And I mean, his defense is strong either way. So really the only time you need this is when like an Anakin comes up and is hitting you anyway. So it's there when you need it. Finally, there's his identity. This is usually what you are bringing him for. 1 force and 1 allied Inquisitorius unit may heal. This is really nice because 1, it's no longer Inquisitorius tied the way it was before. Any Empire unit can get that force refresh, which means he can be played outside of his tags now. And the fact that he has 3 force, but has something very similar to Cad Bane's force refresh means Empire suddenly has a force battery that is very reliable.
Yes. Yeah.
Another nice thing, the fact that the refresh doesn't matter as much, but the healing is split up. You can do 1 and 1 on 2 different units, whereas a lot of other effects like this are just like, oh, well, you heal too, but it has to be on the same thing. Whereas Grand Inquisitor can split it up, which is really nice because there's a lot of chip damage going around. So the Inquisitors, especially Fifth Brother and Vader 3, who have protection, often will get 1 or 2 damage kind of piecemeal, and you can heal that off just incidentally.
That's a great call out, yeah, because like Fifth Brother hates having a pin on him. Vader 3 obviously doesn't want to have a strain on him. So there's some ways there to get rid of those conditions as well too that Inquisitorius in particular do not.
Yep. So as for his stances, both sides are fairly defensive. I know Makashi has a little steeper of a curve in terms of the defense expertise giving you blocks. The Gem So side is much better at mitigating crits. In my experience, that's usually why I'm picking stances with Grand Inquisitor, because it's based on what I'm playing against. The other reason I would switch to Gemso is because there's pushes and a reposition on the tree, which is real nice, as well as he has a dash on his ranged expertise, which is like on step 1 of his ranged expertise. So if he needs to get moving somewhere, he's in Gemso. Otherwise, the trees, I don't lean too hard into one or the other. I don't know. What's your experience, Sean?
My experience is that he is usually in Gemso, and I am boogieing him across the board because, like you said, on that side, he can move, right? We're talking dash off his activation, a full advance. He shoots, likely hits that dash off the expertise, and then a reposition as well too. You can easily get Grand Inquisitor from one side of the board to the other, and take a back objective. He is, to me, a fantastic back objective taker on Never Tell Me the Odds, Sabotage Showdown, shifting, really in any mission other than First Contact. Yeah, he's really great for moving. And then you mentioned just going back a little bit to the Force refresh, the Force battery thing we talked about earlier in the episode. He is really leading the charge for Empire right now with that Force refresh ability to really fuel the other things that Empire want to be doing right now. But yeah, for me, most of the time, like we've seen with the Inquisitor box post rebalance, they're not a high damage box. So very, very rarely am I ever on Makashi unless I know 150% I can get a wound. Like it's got to be 2 pushing it to 3. Like I need to get 1 success minimum for that 2 damage to wound something, or else he stays on Gemso most of the time.
One thing to watch out for if you are playing against Grand Inquisitor is he can spike a lot of damage on that Makashi side. Like it's he can hit 8 on 4 if he hits an expertise, which is crazy. And then going up from there, he can actually get to 11. And that's not taking into account any coordinated fire or anything like that. It's just on his tree.
Yes, and with an enfeeble from Fifth Brother to give whoever he's attacking exposed as well too. That can be extremely helpful to get him, like you said, between that 8 to 11 damage. So yes, there are some moments where
or
he can be like, holy shit.
If you happen to have Dark Troopers, he can hit 9 on 4 results, because Coordinated Fire Strain allows him to get another damage on that tree. 9 on 4 is absurd. Like that's one-shotting most things in the game with only getting 4 results through.
Yes. Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. He does have that potential in him for sure.
Another thing to watch out for, and I'm probably not going to get into this too much when we're doing our list building, but he is a prime target to have a Vader 1 across from him. It's not a list we see very often, but it completely changes how he and the rest of his box play, because you suddenly can get much higher on those trees, and he has really good trees. It's just he struggles to get very far in them because he has low numbers of dice. With Vader 3, again, it's one of those things where you're really looking out for it, more playing against it than playing with it, in my opinion. But when you're playing against that, don't expect him to be this docile point taker and someone who moves a lot. He is coming for blood.
Yes, yeah. With Vader 1, it does change his dynamic quite a bit. Absolutely. Cool. Awesome. So, as you had mentioned, what comes in his box, he has 3 other Inquisitors with him. So we have the secondary third sister, aka Reva, and when we have 2 support options, we have fourth sister and fifth brother. Reva got the whole box got a great glow up, don't get me wrong, but Reva third sister, I think, really got a really great one. Just running through her really quickly, we won't go too much into this. She has a force jump for a force, pretty standard. We see that on a lot of other different units. Call the Hunt is, I think, one of the more interesting ones, where she chooses an allied supporting character, and then the character may dash and then may make a 5 dice attack. This is a great little combination with Force Sister, who now has a new 7 dice range attack, which is really, really good. Deflect for 2 damage, fairly standard, really good for when you're getting shot up to hit some damage back. And then Your Fear Betrays You. So this is essentially when she makes an attack during the modified dice roll steps, she can re-roll based on the amount of objectives that your opponent controls. So if your opponent controls 2, you get to re-roll 2 dice. So this can really help smooth out her attacks. She does have 7 dice and is fairly damage heavy too. I mean, she's got 4 on 3 success with varying, top tree, you can do an exposed. Bottom, you can get double shove with a fairly standard, I don't think groundbreaking attack expertise, but I've had her have some good attacks before.
I will say she is the one unit in the box where I don't really look at splashing her. She is going in there if you have a Inquisitorious support and you strongly consider having a second.
Yeah, we've seen her in fourth with Moff Gideon.
Yep.
Actually, too.
Yes, and I like that because you have multiple tiebreakers. I still think you really want her in a full Inquisitorious list, but she can splash with Fourth Sister or with Fifth Brother. But I wouldn't see ever putting her by herself, whereas I could see taking either of the supports by themselves.
Yeah, because her value goes down. Like the Call of the Hunt is just such a great ability again with Reva having the range attack now, and Fifth Brother, to me has a fairly good 5-dice attack too.
Yep.
Yeah. So your first of your two support choices here, Force Sister. Again, we see a force for a force jump. Then she has a force for a force pull. Choose a character in this unit within 3 and pull them 2. We've seen this one before. She has one of the 2 enfeebles within the box. Her enfeeble is within 4 when another Inquisitorious is attacking. The enemy target gains a pin, which can be quite good. Pin and exposed, 2 of the best conditions in the game amongst 4th and 5th brother. Inquisitor Mandate. Now she is a tiebreaker, which is interesting. Both the supports, as we talk about, 5th brother do have tiebreaking, and then the last ability, Swift Retreat. This one's really, really interesting. When she could make an advance, she can reposition instead, which means she can get out of engagement if she needs to, which I think is quite interesting.
Yep, Fourth Sister is strong. She's had a huge buff in terms of how she used to play. She still has the same weakness she had before, which is she goes down pretty easy. But at least with a ranged attack now, she can kind of stay out of the fray, try to stay back a little bit. It's tough because as a tiebreaker, you want to throw her into the fray, where she goes down pretty easy, but she works fairly well as just a fire and forget missile. You send her up with Third Sister, or she goes up, pulls something off a point, she takes the point, and then draws attention to herself.
Yeah, that's always been the double-edged sword and kind of my criticism with her, right? You're right, is that with the range attack, and then you want to follow up and put her on a point with the tiebreaker. And then for me, the play pattern is almost she does those 2 things, and then she gets roasted the next activation or within the next 2 activations, which kind of sucks because then you're on a single body support, and then you're like, crap, this is terrible.
It is nice to send her to the back point, though, because it's something your opponent can't ignore. She goes back, causes their next activation to basically be wasted, taking back their own back point. And when they're doing that, that gives you another chance to develop your own side of the board.
Yeah, and you can do that really sneakily as well too, right? Like on a Grand Inquisitor activation, dash her up. Reva, obviously, with Call to Hunt, dash her up, attack. So there are great ways to kind of sneak her up to be able to do what you had just said there, to take a back objective. Yeah, so a new range attack with her, range 4, attack tree, expertise, not fantastic. I mean, fairly standard. Crit on 1 and 2. Again, 1 to 2 on the melee side for a crit. Come on 1 is nice. I've always found her to be very reliable for at least a shove. And then disarm pin if you're looking to apply some conditions to a unit that could use a disarm or a pin. Yeah, a nice glow up for her. Again, like you said, single body kind of hurts, but I've had some good games with her.
Yep. She's very flexible. She feels like a secondary that gets put in a support slot, which sometimes that's what you want.
Do you want to hit up Fifth Brother Force?
Yeah, so Fifth Brother is the only one of the Inquisitors that didn't get touched by the rebalance, and he was very strong before. He's still very strong now. His main thing is he's got protection and steadfast when he's on the point. He's got protection, steadfast, 9 hit points, and a tiebreaker is just really strong before we even get into his other stuff. His other stuff is good. Force Repulse, we love it on Shock T, we love it on Fifth Brother. It's very unique. You can displace everything around him, which means you can throw everything off a point. It's expensive, so it's not something you use every time, but when you get to use it, it's real good. Like the other Inquisitors, he has a Force Jump, and then he has Enfeeble Expose, which is an ability we've seen AMG go away from because it's coordinated fire just with a smaller range. So anything that can put an expose on before an attack, real strong. It's just single body plus only range 4. It's not going to happen as much as you would like, but that's fine. It's a really good ability when you get it. The other thing I would say about Fifth Brother, because he is so tough, there's kind of the two main ways I like to play him is one, he gets put on a point early and just sits there and basically says, you're going to have a hard time taking this point, go somewhere else. And it's always nice to kind of have that safe point on the midline. If you don't get him there early, he can go and steal it, similarly to someone who, say, moves up like a Dooku or something like Mando, where they think it's safe, and because that unit's really tough, Fifth Brother can just go up, stand next to them, and say, you're irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Finally, I love shooting him across the board, similarly to Fourth Sister. But unlike Fourth Sister, he usually doesn't go down very easy. So in a very mobile list, I love putting him across there. About midway through the first deck, I don't want to get him there too early, but once your opponent has moved away from their points a bit, it's real nice to be able to put him on their back point. And then, oh, well, they go take that, and Grand Inquisitor comes up, or Moff Gideon comes up, and you go, okay, well, Fifth Brother is going to jump to their other back point, and then they have to do it all over again because he's unlikely to go down quickly unless they have something like an Anakin.
Yeah, Fifth Brother was a mainstay. I mean, you're aware of in my Thrawn list, and one of my favorite things to do was to Thrawn reserve him, advance him up, and then just wait. And then just wait for him to be able to be activated, advance, jump, even with a take cover to give it the extra movement and take a back objective, and then on Sabotage Showdown, he becomes an active threat again with Thrawn with the battle tat that he can advance around. I never tell him the odds. He was quite good too as well. So he can be in a mobile list a very active threat.
Yep. All right. So moving back to Grand Inquisitor, wanted to talk a bit about how he typically plays. We've touched on this a little bit, but in my books, the two things he generally does, and it's more of a sliding scale than two different roles, but he, on one hand, is a very movement-oriented control piece. This is where you have a heavier Inquisitor presence, and you're really banking on moving around those tiebreaker supports and also having good mobility himself. You're shuffling units around to different control points and basically relying on your better mobility to play a control game. On the other hand, he is also a payoff and an enabler for an aggro list. Having that extra force every time you wound something means you can use your abilities more often, which one of the most common places we see that is Iden and her Inferno squad, because they are quite force hungry, especially once they get wounded, and they will get wounded. Grand Inquisitor means you can just spam that all you want, and as long as you keep the wounds rolling in, the force isn't going to be a problem.
Yeah. The force battery thing has been really great. Again, pairing him, like you said, with Iden has been great. Yeah, it's amazing. He keeps the covert ops moving on Inferno Squad, which is what they need.
Yep.
%.
And he always felt weird before the rebalance because he still had that aspect to him, except he only got the force refresh from Inquisitors wounding things, which, unless you were running Vader 1, they're not damage heavy. So it felt like he had a payoff for something that just wasn't going to happen. But now that it's Empire, you have those really aggressive Empire units that want something like that. Now they have it. So
it blew it wide open. Yeah, it was a great change for them to open it up to Empire.
So, but like I said, unless you're running Vader 1, that's typically not how the Inquisitor heavy versions of his list are going to play. And again, Vader 1, I'm not seeing it getting played much. I've not played it myself, so I don't know if it's just not good or if it's just not interesting to people, but it can spike. I wouldn't expect to see it a whole lot.
It's a little from column A, a little from column B there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's put together some lists.
Yeah,
for him. So what do you think you're taking here, Titus, to go with the Grand Inquisitor?
So for me, I put together more of a displacement list. I took advantage of the fact that he is able to take Clone Wars era stuff, and I paired him with Lord Maul. Get more of those red lightsabers in there.
Kyle's not here, so we don't have any Maul hate up in this episode. I love it.
Oh, I mean, I don't typically play Maul myself, but
yeah, I know.
There's a reason I wanted to take him here. So I have
Sweet.
Grand Inquisitor with Third Sister, Fifth Brother, then Lord Maul with Django and Fourth Sister. The main thing here is I have 4 units with diceless displacement and a very good force economy, because
Yeah,
the
I love
only
it.
one who doesn't get force back when they wound something is Lord Maul, and he's not spending force. Grand Inquisitor also isn't usually spending force. Third Sister is only really spending 1 for jump unless she gets wounded. So you have 3 units that aren't taxing your force economy a whole lot, and all of them have the potential to put force back into your force economy. So that's 6 force left for Django, Fourth Sister, Fifth Brother. That means you can almost always use their diceless displacement. Fourth Sister having the 1 force pull, same thing with Django. Then Fifth Brother has the repulse. You can make life very difficult for anything that is playing more defensively. I'm talking like your Kenobi lists, your Mace lists. You still have some squishy targets that people might go after, but I don't know. Maul can be tanky on his sinister cunning side. Django is deceptively hard to take down just because his defense is quite strong. The only thing that I think I would expect people to try to go after is Fourth Sister, and every list has its weak point, so I'm not too broken up about that. Yeah, it's tough. It's heavy on the displacement, but it has the force economy to back it up. I think it has legs.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I mean, in particular, like you said, with those hard to move Galactic Republic primaries, I think this is really great. And I've always loved Maul. I think Maul's great. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to see
I'm not
Maul in the
usually
mix.
a big fan of Maul, but
Yep.
he does have that economy and diceless displacement. And
Yep.
I'm always a proponent that if you are going to go for a squad that focuses in on something, you want to really focus in on something. Like you want to
Yes.
specialize. I feel like we are past the point where 1 or 2 things, like I don't like the all-rounder lists. I don't think
Yeah.
they have as much of a place in the meta as they used to have. You still get
Okay.
lists that can splash something, like with Mando, because he's good at a lot of different things. He has that displacement, but it's usually not the focus. He's just there because he's strong. I think if you're going displacement, you need to have 4 instances of it to really be effective into these defensive lists, because mobility is just so prevalent nowadays.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, generalist lists don't seem to be where it's at right now. Which brings us to my list, which is very focused as well too. So I'm gonna go with Grand Inquisitor, OB2, Fifth Brother, paired with Inferno Squad. So this is 1/2 again of the premier list that we've been seeing pop up for Empire. This is the damage aggro list. Inferno Squad I still think is a great pick. And is showing up in top placing events as a good aggro squad still. She can still smack. She is phenomenal, which again pairs really well with the force battery identity of Grand Inquisitor to be able to do all the things that you want to do, all your covert ops. OB2 in the list, make sure that he's getting his disarms off. The combination of Fifth Brother with Grand Inquisitor, Fifth Brother feeding the enfeeble expose that we talked about for Grand Inquisitor for those potential spikes for him as well too. For him to be a big damage dealer, Seth, having an infiltrate squad, this really helps on first contact and never tell me the odds. And again, what you had mentioned, I really like this against Galactic Republic squads. So Mace will be one of those types of squads. I think Kyle's mentioned a number of times that he still hates as an Obi-Wan player seeing Inferno Squad across the board from him. And the Grand Inquisitor squad really rounds them out with a bit of a toolbox of different abilities. So again, GI with the Force Refresh, OB2 with the Disarm for those single attack Jedi primaries that can whiff on an attack with the Disarm, Fifth Brother Tiebreaker, all the things we talked about, Force Repulse, you bring in a bit of a control element as well too, because the Inferno side doesn't have any diceless displacement, and ISF are just not hitting as hard as they used to or as reliably as they are. I also still love having Long Live the Empire with Gideon Hask to be able to do a sneaky advance on Fifth Brother with the tiebreaker as well too. So I think this is a really, really good, well-rounded list that's doing a lot of very powerful things that is a great, and even as a 2x2, you take this as your aggro damage list, and then you play something else. I think that's fine as well too. It doesn't have to be in the premier, list setting that we're seeing. But yeah, this is where I'm going to take them.
Yeah. One thing I will say in terms of having either of the Gideons on your list, Long Live the Empire is an ability that can absolutely win you the game when you're playing any amount of Inquisitors.
Oh,
because
it's still really good.
If you bring back either of your Inquisitorious supports when your opponent is counting on them being dead, it swing the game in your favor, because those tiebreakers are so important to an Inquisitorious list that if they go down, you lose a lot of your power, because both Third Sister and Grand Inquisitor, I know you don't necessarily have that in yours, like the one you're playing for your premier list.
Oh, yeah.
But they both are counting on moving those supports. So if the support's dead, it's not doing a whole lot. And Long Live the Empire just goes, well, I have another lease at life.
Yes, in particular with Fifth Brother, you have if you're long living the Empire him, you're moving him to a point, right? So you're refreshing him with a new 9 health with protection and steadfast. And like you said, that can be very, very devastating for your opponent to have to think, okay, oh geez, well, I thought this one was safe.
Yeah.
But it's not anymore, and it's going to alter their game plan totally based on that one ability that just refreshed, like you said, fourth or fourth or fifth brother, right? I mean, either or. Fourth is not going to get as much mileage as fifth, but I mean, it's still going to bring up that situation, like you said, that's going to make your opponent really kind of have to rethink their entire game plan.
Yeah. Just if you're ever
amazing.
playing against Inquisitors with a Long Live the Empire ability, never leave either of those supports on 2 or 1 hit points, because it's bad.
It'll bite you in
because all of a sudden you have an Inquisitor in your back line at full hit points, and that's tough to deal with.
That's a problem for sure. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's 2 fantastic lists, taking 2 very different approaches. I know mine only has Grand Inquisitor in 5th, but I mean, again, we are seeing Grand Inquisitor be just such an important role right now in the current meta of Empire. And like you said, Titus, this is a great box for anybody wanting to dabble into Empire to get started, because it pairs well with something like you've suggested, right? So I think this is a great place to start. Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on with Grand Inquisitor, or in this box in particular?
The only thing I would say that they're fun to paint. They're cool models. Like, just having all the lightsaber blades and the cool stances and everything. Like, and I mean, they have a bit more color than your standard Empire fare. So like, I like them quite a bit, just in terms of how they look on the table.
Yeah, I think it's Eric in our group that has his Empire stuff. He did it with like the red and orange glow, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that who? Yeah, and they look so sick. If you do some of the lightsaber effects and that kind of stuff that I've seen certain people do, you can make an Inquisitor squad look really, really nice. Really nice.
I tried that once on Anakin, and I have not gone back to it since, because it looked awful.
That lighting, I forget what you call that lighting effect. It's like OL whatever you call it, where you're trying to have the lightsaber shine off of them. I can never get it right either. It always looks like dusty.
Yep.
Dusty. You know what I mean?
That's the same thing I had. So we'll need to get someone to teach us.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think that does us for this episode. Really, really appreciate everybody listening in. Remember, our Discord will be in the show notes. Really, really great community that we're building. I think we got 3 or 4 new people in the past week or so. Great discussions about everything Shatterpoint, painting. If you want to learn how to do that lighting effect, I'm sure we got some people in our painting Discord channel that can help you out with that too. And yeah, again, thank you for everybody for listening. If you can please like, subscribe, thumbs up, wherever you listen to us, share our podcast, tell a friend about it. We've been really getting some great traction with some new listeners and people saying that they love what we do. And we really appreciate it. We want to say thank you to everybody. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
See you later.